Hello to all of my friends from near and far. I want to welcome you all to another edition of the National Portrait Gallery Storytime program called Introducing. Now, in this program, we share the stories of the people who've helped shape the history of the United States through our portraits. Now, today we're going to be looking at a portrait of poet and author Adrienne Rich. Adrienne Rich was a part of the great generation of post-World War II poets. Her life as a Jewish lesbian influenced her poetry, which talked a lot about the lives of women in the United States. She was a really important voice during the women's liberation movement during the 1960s and 1970s. Now, women's liberation is a phrase that combines the words women and the word liberation. Now, liberation is the act of setting someone free from imprisonment, slavery, or oppression. It also means release. So women's liberation was a diverse social movement that sought equal rights and opportunities for women in their economic activities, in their personal lives, and in politics. Now, during this time, many women were asking themselves really important questions, right? Like, why am I doing all of the cooking or chores in my household? Or some women were asking themselves, do I want to have a job? Or should I stay at home to take care of my family? The women's liberation movement, which Adrienne Rich was a part of, wanted women to have more freedom and more opportunities to decide the kind of lives that they wanted to live. Now, this portrait we're looking at today is a black and white photograph of Adrienne Rich by Joan E. Byron from 1981. In this portrait, we can see an adult woman. She's looking straight at us. We can see her eyes. She has short graying hair that falls across her forehead. She is wearing small hoop earrings. Get a little bit closer so you can see them. A light colored textured shirt open at the neck, and we can see a watch on her wrist and a ring on her middle finger. Her left hand rests on her chin. And in the background, we can see sort of two unidentified objects. Now, Adrienne Rich has a really interesting story. She was born in 1929 in Baltimore, Maryland. Her father was a renowned doctor and professor at Johns Hopkins University. Her mother was a former concert pianist. Now, Adrienne was a really smart student and began writing poetry as a child with the encouragement of her father, Arnold Rich. Now, she would later go on to attend college at Radcliffe College, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In 1951, while only a senior at Radcliffe College, she published her first book called A Change of World. Now, this book was actually chosen as the winner of the Yale Younger Poets Award. Now, Adrienne would go on to establish herself as a poet, but realized that her poetry was different than what other people were writing about in the 1950s. She realized that her thoughts and feelings as a woman was not necessarily being expressed by other poets. And she really sort of looked inward and really thought about the things that meant the most to her and really used her poetry to share those feelings. She later reemerged as the poetic voice of the women's liberation movement. Beginning with her work, Snapshots of a Daughter-in-Law, poems from 1963, Rich's work explored issues of sexuality, identity, and politics. Her writing really reflected her interest in social justice, the anti-war movement, and her radical feminism. In 1973, she published her most influential book of poetry called Diving into the Wreck. Now, this book would earn a National Book Award in 1974. For decades, Adrienne Rich also taught at many universities and colleges, including Rutgers, Stanford, and Brandeis. Decades later, she made headlines in 1997 when she refused the Medal of Arts in protest. She said, "I could not accept such an award because the very meaning of art, as I understand it, is incompatible with the cynical politics of the then President of the United States." Now, Adrienne was very passionate, and during her 60 years of writing about her own identity and commenting about the world, she really understood the importance of challenging herself and others. She realized that history is not just about telling stories about success and innovation. It also includes talking about social justice and dignity. Now, sadly, we've reached the end of this week's Introducing. I hope you enjoyed learning about this amazing woman as much as I have. I encourage you all to continue learning about Adrienne Rich. Until then, we hope to see you back next week for a new story.